school, each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your hosts, Keith Barney.
Out of practice.
And sleepy Mike and Deglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
It's Halloween for us and Election Day for you.
Days have gone by, but I'm pretty sure Keith is still rebooting.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly podcast in which we discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This episode will be about Season 5, Episode 7, Brothers Keepers. It is the Out of Practice podcast 91st episode. It is Halloween. How's it going, Mike?
It's going well. I hope that you have your ear pods in right now and you are standing in line somewhere to vote. I hope it hasn't been too long.
We again.
What's that?
I shrank again.
You shrank again. Well, you know what? Hopefully you'll bounce back. Skype will do whatever adjustments it needs to do.
Yes.
The past few weeks have really been something, but I hope you're voting.
Yes.
Or that you're listening to
or
this
you have
later.
You've already voted.
Yes. And that we have a new president-elect.
Oh my God! Please, for the love of God, let us please have some. At this point, it's less about the president and more about democracy, because it'd be fun to still have it.
Right.
But I had a lovely time. I early voting here in Astoria, Queens. Went on Tuesday. It's now Saturday, and it was really cool because it's a little bit consolidated in Queens for early voting, so I had to walk a little further. But when I got there, it's at the Boys and Girls Club on 21st Street, and I got to the line. I'm like, oh, that's a long line. It goes all the way to the end of the block. And I get to the end of the block, and I'm like, oh, it's going down the other, take a left, and it's around the end of that block. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I keep walking down. It's all the way to the end of that. And I take another left, and I'm like, it's the line still going. And then I went all the way around the other block, and then took another left. And by the time I got to the end of the line, I basically circumnavigated the entire giant block, and I was lining up right about where the line was going into the building.
Huh. Is this Mammy Faye?
No, this was it was the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, okay. That's funny. We only live a few blocks from one another, yet there's two different polling places.
Well, this was consolidated because I'm usually voting on 31st Street. I think at the school.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was early voting, they only had a couple locations in Astoria, not all the normal ones. Anyway, point being, waited about an hour and 10 minutes, had a lovely chat with, some lady who'd been in Astoria her entire life, and had a really nice time voting. So obviously it was, it's Queens. We all know who's voting for who there, but it was a really lovely experience, and I was glad to have done it.
Yeah, I guess I'll speak to my situations thus far. So Jen and I moved to Pennsylvania, and it's nice because I think my vote here is one of the most powerful votes I've ever had, because Pennsylvania is the swing state this year, this cycle, I should say.
Yeah.
I think last cycle has taught us that the polls are anecdotal at best. I mean, I think they've kind of reeled in the science a little bit, but regardless, I don't like to look at those anymore. And so Jen's been doing a get out the vote, and she's been text banking. She's that annoying person who keeps texting you. So
good.
Send your emails to outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com to complain to CEO Jen. My mom, who goes back and forth. My mom is not a party voter. She votes for a person. And she, this year, was going to just go to the polls. And I really had to have a long conversation with her because I'm a lot more kind of protective of her health right now than she is. And I guess you could say my siblings. I'm not putting them on blast. It's just, it's a different mentality here right now than coming from like ground zero. So long story short.
Everywhere's ground zero now.
Yeah, that's true. Long story short, I got her to fill out her, Pennsylvania has like the security envelope and then the other envelope and then this. So I went through it with
the
her.
thing on the outside. Yeah.
My sister went through it. We made sure we did it right. It took 3 of us. And then I was the person who got to walk it to the mailbox. So I got to do that vote. Jen and I did a drive-by of our new polling place to make sure I'll get that vote. And
you're going to vote in person?
I am going to vote in person.
On day of? Nice.
Yeah, it's just kind of...
It's fun.
It's a mile from here. So I will say this. We had a long conversation in the last episode about politics and, our sort of bleeding heart liberalism. I'll say this, though, Keith. Even though I have trepidation and anxiety and all kinds of existential crises taking place in my heart and soul over what's about to happen in a few days, what's awesome to me and what they can never take away, and trust me, they will try, both sides of the aisle, they will try to spin what I'm about to say. Already, and election day is days away for us, 60+% of the total voter turnout last election cycle have already voted.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say. I don't care what your argument is. I don't believe it. I believe that the more of our populace, educated, uneducated, into politics, not into politics, that vote, the more I, as a human being, regardless of who wins the elections, will sleep at night knowing that, well, this is actually what we voted for.
Of course. Investment in what we're doing by everybody is the only way that we're going to do this right. And, when you have, 60% of the population not invested, no wonder it's not going to go well.
So we can disagree with
I'm
our
very
boy.
encouraged by that too.
I shouldn't say boy. With our friend Mo from last week, who's who has different politics than us. For some things, I'm sure we can find tidbits of agreement here and there. But as long as we're standing in line together at the polls, you know what? I'll offer you my hot dog. Wait.
Yeah.
I mean, if I happen to have had spare hot dogs, like
that came out wrong.
in my narrative, I was just like in line and I had a bunch of hot dogs from like a baseball stadium and I was like giving them out. But I could see where that could have been misconstrued.
You should not be offering your hot dog in the line. I mean,
is that worse than poll watching?
Well, it's just a different type of proud boy.
Okay.
Well,
not so proud. Well, proud as we discussed on last week's pod. Also, not so proud boy.
Oh my! Well, I will say this. I do have one last election thing that I'm kind of proud of.
Okay.
And that is in Philadelphia, there has been one vote cast for yours truly.
What, someone wrote you in?
Somebody wrote me, my sister-in-law wrote me in because there's a local race there that I can't really get into, but there's a good reason not to vote for the person on our side in a small local race in Philadelphia. So I was written in, and she took a picture of the ballot and sent it to me. So I got one vote in Philadelphia.
Wow.
I was very honored and touched. So I don't think I'm going to win, but I did get.
Oh man, but that would really throw a kink in the works of your plans coming up. I just bought a house. You'd be taking the train like Joey Bide.
That's true. Take the Amtrak. I'd love to do that. I'm not sure the gig is that good. I wasn't exactly the mayor.
I've always wanted to be comptroller.
Comptroller? That'd be amazing. So if you're listening to this on Tuesday and you have not voted, please participate in our democracy, participate in our future so that we can hold on to it. Please vote. If you have not voted, or if you have voted, thank you very much. And let's all hope for on Tuesday, which will be today for you guys. Let us all, at the very least, hope for peace and safety through this process, which is probably going to be scary. So everybody hang in there. Okay, let us move forward because I would like to just say a little bit in our loudest segment, which we haven't, which we did last week, because I have something to talk about. Nope, that's definitely the wrong bumper, but this is the right one.
I will put some sort of graphic in post because I wasn't ready for this.
I tried to set it up. I always do more TV before filings because it feels like filings is more into the episode world.
I just didn't even have the graphic loaded into the OBS. So
Oh, well.
I don't keep them all in there, Keith. I do it on a week-to-week basis.
Oh, why don't you just keep them all in there? That's what I do with the bumpers.
Have you seen the shit show that is our podcast? We have to be corrected every week. So I try to limit the mistakes possible, but
yes, well,
we'll get
here.
there.
I'm always here to make more mistakes. So one of the coming up on Monday, I am going to be going in and shooting something because of Mr. Mike Indaglio.
Yep. Keith got me an agent for body hair, and I got him an actual legitimate internet airing. I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah, so I will be, due to a friend of yours who's a casting director, you recommended me, there's a show on YouTube Premium called Retro Tech. And it's a show about retro tech. The first season, they talked about like camcorders and Game Boys. And this season, they're going to talk more about tech in sort of our culture and pop culture. So they're doing an episode on transportation or teleportation. And so, of course, they're going to talk a lot about Star Trek. So I will be a talking head as a Star Trek expert talking about teleportation on that. So that will be fun. I got my COVID test on Thursday, which I felt so swanky.
Oh, so it's not, you don't have to beam in. You're going to go and sit in a studio?
No, like we're going in studio. So obviously I had to get a COVID test, and I felt so fancy because they sent the nurse here to my apartment to do the test. And I'm like, wow, so like I don't have to go. They just, wherever I am in the world, they're going to send someone to COVID test me. And then I realize as she walks into my shitty apartment that is filled with boxes like my apartment is on the corner of Con Edison and a live meat slaughter plant and a cardboard box factory.
That is 100% accurate.
And I realized, like, so this is someone who COVID tests for, TV stuff all the time, film stuff. So she's probably coming straight from like Nicole Kidman to whatever this situation is.
Live
and
chicken hut.
I felt much less fancy. So I was like, oh no.
That's funny.
Oh my God. So I will be heading out to the studio on Monday, and I spent a good 3 hours freaking out, obsessing about trying to find something to wear that didn't make me look like Jabba the Hutt. And it's just this is not a good situation. See, on here, I can crop right from the jowl.
You gotta go blazer. I think you gotta go blazer, man.
I probably will, although they want casual, which is not good for me.
Yeah, but you go jeans and a tee and like a Star Trek tee and a blazer.
I bought one specifically for this, but then I can't have anything with writing on it. So I've got.
Could you just get like a Picard head?
Picard again?
Just his head.
I could, yes. I could just wear the head, so I have a rubber Patrick Stewart and then a blob and then
Mr.
blob
Varney,
beneath him.
We didn't request that you bring 400 action figures with you. Was that a personal choice, or?
I'm surprised they didn't, because when I did an audition, like a 45-minute interview with the casting director, and I brought out my action figures, and it was really funny. But Anyway, happily,
Well, do we know when that season's going to drop? Because they generally drop those episodes all together.
I have no idea.
It's a really good show for anybody who hasn't watched. I actually watch it. I didn't know that's what I was recommending Keith for at the time. I don't know that I would have done so. I'm very protective of the shows I like. But. It's with Marquez, right? Marquez?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's cool.
Yeah, and you're gonna be watching your show, and then there's gonna be like Jabba the Keith. They're like Star Trek, rah rah rah.
Like, we're gonna have to change the aspect ratio here. Go ahead and zoom out to SD.
Yes.
No, man, that's cool. I'm super pumped, and it's nice during this like stressful time. I know you're getting ready to move and the election and all this stuff to have something fun to look forward to.
And of course, like I texted my brother and my uncle. I'm like, so you guys worked for decades, collected Emmys, did everything on this show, and I'm the blob talking head expert on it. It's going to be hilarious.
Do you have to take the subway?
I'm writing their coattails like you wouldn't believe. No, we're going to drive out.
They didn't send you a car? How dare they?
They offered, but because I have one, it seemed a little silly.
Oh my God! When you get pimped out, you got to take the pimp.
Well, look, they offered transportation. I didn't know if that was going to be a car or a Metro card. I wasn't going to risk it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well.
Anyway.
Keith, we're both YouTube stars now, so
apparently, yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell either. I'm gonna get cut out of it. I'm not getting paid, so like I'm literally just doing this to add something to my meager IMDb page. All right.
I'm going to show you this since we're shooting this on Halloween, so this is when we're so last night. I don't know if anybody caught the election special I game show hosted a few nights ago, but for that same company, I did an 80s slasher live interactive thing last night.
Oh yes.
Which was pretty fun, and I got to play the Harbinger of Doom. You know, the guy in the first 20 minutes of the movie who's like, "Don't go in there.
You don't want to buy gas at this station."
Right. So, but we had to do some promo shots, and this one is so choice. I should have loaded it up in the OBS, but I'm just going to show you on the camera here.
Oh,
Hopefully
show me on the camera there.
Oh, let me zoom in.
Let's see it. Focus. Yeah. Yes.
I had the 80s ringer tee. I had a mullet. I had a crucifix. It was really
remarkable.
Yeah. So it's been there's been at least fun stuff. I have to be honest. I have worked more during COVID than I think maybe in my 20 years living in New York.
Well,
so I don't know what that says about me or my skill set or.
Well, it's at this stage, it's like, you get asked what tech you have first in the audition. And it's sort of like you got an agent because you've got back hair and,
right.
and work because of the tech. It's the same thing here. I mean, Jill's and I are doing the same thing. She's doing a one of those like live audio plays or whatever. And part of her audition process now is proving that you have a decent mic that you can broadcast live without a whole bunch of sound interference.
Yeah,
so
great.
Crazy.
Invest in that tech, kids. Invest in your setup.
Totally. And invest in being a nerd in high school because it's finally paying off.
Mm-hmm. With arms wide open. You know, it dawned on me the second we stopped recording last week.
Yeah.
That my wife was going to listen to that episode.
I had that thought too.
Luckily,
has she listened yet?
She has. She sure has. She mercilessly has teased me since. So.
Oh my God, of course. I told Jillian, she was like, he said that on air?
Well, I get very I get as if we're having beers and then forget that, people are listening. Because, up until recently, they weren't. So
no, I mean, I've always felt it was safe. Well, that was the thing when my mother started listening. I was like, oh shit, I have to go back to everything I've ever said ever in my entire 170 hours of recording this.
Speaking of a podcast we do about something not about us, let's
yes, let us hear from these people in a segment we call
Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas.
First off, Phoenix says, Mike, congrats on the new series. I can't wait to find out how Keith is going to make you regret ever having told him about it with all the new audio clips he is able to make. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have so many hours of your audio, I could probably go into Pro Tools and make you say anything.
That's if you could get Pro Tools to boot.
Shut up. We had to reboot before we did this. Took like 20 minutes. Ugh. And speaking of things that I screwed up, this might be one of my favorite comments I've ever gotten on this.
Well, hold on. Before you get there, let me.
Yes.
So,
this you loaded up.
No, I didn't. But I will say, okay. I should have. I just deleted it, actually. So I will say that last week, I've been trying to get my new apartment set up, and the audio is suspect. It's the point. What happens is we've talked about audio drift and audio sync and all that stuff a little bit. And when you're going over 2 hours of podcast, unless you're willing to like go 90-second intervals and like match up the frames 90 seconds at a time for 2.5 hours, which I'm not willing to do.
No.
There are mistakes. And last week, I accidentally slotted in the bumpers in the wrong place and then tried to just kind of on the fly sync it up. But what I didn't realize I had done at the time is pushed Keith's audio like 3 seconds ahead or behind. I can't remember. And so thankfully, Phoenix, as a listener, like chimed in and was like, hey, guys, you fucked up the audio. So I go back to fix the audio, and then I have to like resync it, and I'm freaking out because it's Tuesday, and I already pushed out the audio, and I've got to like pull it back and read, and I'm like freaking out, like, oh, Mike, you really fucked up. Keith's gonna ride you. But then, riding in on a golden stallion of retribution and relief,
pre-retribution, because I didn't even do anything yet. So last week we read a comment on YouTube from Jorge, where he asked us if we were willing to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, which of course we didn't pick up on it, but we just like took it at face value. Like, okay, sure, Jorge, like we'll answer this question. We'll tell the truth. Sure, why not? And he wrote in today, or not today, this week, and he said, so, in case you were wondering, the oddity of my comment last week, do you swear to tell the truth, was my attempt at teasing you guys for misspelling the title of the episode on the slide. I was trying to nudge, wink, but ended up looking like I have a tick instead.
So it's next a full time, 2.5 hours of us talking with a typo directly below us.
The title of the episode in giant font directly below us. Not only did we not catch it the first time around, we didn't catch it when he teased us about it.
Or when I edited the episode, when I put all of the post into the episode, when I uploaded the episode, and when I watched it back 3 times on YouTube because I'm a narcissist and Jen likes to watch it. Nobody saw that it said truth, except for Jorge Navoa. So Jorge, well, I'm sure everybody else noticed too. But.
Yes, he says next time I'll just whip out the old red Sharpie. Yeah, wow. When it comes to spelling, subtlety is lost on us. I can't spell to save my life. There's no spell check in Photoshop, which is, I think, the biggest problem that it has, because I do a lot of Photoshop and I can't spell to save my life.
I have the
Although
fancy...
that's not like I know how to spell truth. That's a typo, but still.
I have the fancy OK Google machine that, like listens to all my... Basically is probably why I'm hacked all the time.
Because you have set up like military surveillance on yourself. There's cameras in every room in your house. You've got 16 different things listening to you.
It's true.
I don't know what, and I know you, and you should not be surveilled, sir.
But Keith, I'm a sucker for a good deal. It was like 3 cameras for $40. I have to buy it.
Yes, well, Putin sold you really well. He's like,
it's true.
I give you a good deal.
But that's all. I use Google to tell me the weather and to spell shit for me. That's it. Hey, Google, how do you spell such and such? How do you spell truth?
Wow. Oh,
Though I don't have a Google machine in this room because this is now the room where I will, I guess, watch pornography. So I can't have any Google machines in here.
Great. Well, as Jillian would say, I can't believe you said that on the air. Can't wait to hear Jen's reaction to that. Wow. Okay, let us move forward.
I'm blushing.
Into the... you are. Look at you. We're going to hop back into the time machine.
Oh, okay.
And we are going to talk about November 19th, the year 2000, in a segment we call
This Day in the Basement.
Oh man, you're what happened?
I refuse to stay in the boxes you create for me, Mike.
All right. Well,
there I am. Okay, so what was going on November 19th, the year 2000, out in Philadelphia, Mr. Indaglio?
well, I was 20 years old now, so I am moving and shaking, Keith.
You are moving and shaking the back of your was it Hyundai Elantra? No, that's
my Honda Prelude.
You were moving and shaking the Honda Prelude.
Well, I just celebrated a birthday, and my girlfriend at the time, she was now celebrating birthday. We were both Scorpios. That never really works out well. Also, by the way, Obamacare or Biden Care, whatever you want to call it, the open enrollment for the health exchange does start tomorrow. So if you're uninsured, get in on that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have to switch to Jersey in a month.
Yeah, I just got an update telling me to get insurance or you'll die. I literally put that in my calendar.
Good.
So it was her birthday, and man, you ready for some cheese? Get out the crackers because there's some cheese coming. You'll recall that cheesy tune I played for you a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yes. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, I invited her at the time. This is before I gave the song away to another couple. And I invited her out, and we went to out to dinner, and then we walked to this cafe called the Grey Dog Cafe. It was in the name of that town. It was on the main line. It was on the main line in here in outside of King of Prussia. I can't remember the name of the town. That's gonna bug me. Anyway, and we go into this cafe. We're having a coffee or whatever, and it turns out that there was an open mic there that night, and I had already signed up for the open mic. So during our coffee, I got up and played the song for everybody.
That's so cute.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing.
I'm assuming this is what you sang.
Close my eyes.
Kill it. Too much already. That was definitely real Creed, right?
Yeah, that was real Creed, but it was live, so I'm assuming hopefully YouTube won't scrape us on that.
So yeah, I played it, and it was awesome because it went really well. So I got both the sort of the kudos from the crowd, and also she was into it, all melty and stuff. So don't worry, don't worry. She's gonna dump me in about 3 months, so it's all.
You got affirmation from the crowd and affirmation in the back of your car later.
Yeah, I don't. You really like to set up me having sex in my car, which almost never happened.
Well, look, you're the one who told the story, not me.
So now that you brought it up, I did one time have sex in my car, and I got a park ranger came and knocked on the window and told us to get the hell out of there. And that was the last time that ever happened.
Was this the Creed time?
It wasn't the Creed time. It was actually around this time. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, I can say I've never done that.
Unless you have a big car, it's not really worth it, in my opinion. But
well, you never know. Never know. Okay. Well, look, life is long. There's still more opportunities.
Keith, I have a really interesting picture you sent me, so I'm curious to see what happened this day in the basement for you. So let's go to Keith Varney. What's going on, Pussycat?
Yes. Well, I was, as I typically do went for this day in the basement, I search around for old photos to try to jog my memory of what was happening then. And in my mother's Dropbox, I found this picture of my cat, Charlie, that was taken exactly this day.
Hey.
November 19th, the year 2000. And I'll talk about Charlie later at some point, but he was my best friend growing up. And
let's give Charlie his due then.
He was such a great cat. We got him as a kitten. He was a barn cat up in Vermont, and he's a big, giant. He was an indoor outdoor cat in Vermont, so he had 60 acres to run around and kill things on. And he was he was like
he looks like a big boy.
He was a big boy. He was a big boy and a dear friend to me. And so I was just so happy to see Charlie on things. And so he was, at this point, he was already 15, 16 years old.
So Charlie got a good run. He got a full run.
Oh, Charlie got a hell of a run. Yeah, no, I mean, he was, he lived, I think, 19, and he spent the last year of his life completely blind and completely deaf.
Sheesh.
But he just refused to go. He's like, you know what? I'm going. I as long as I got something to eat and someplace warm, I'm good to go. And he was a really, really cool cat, and he didn't like anybody but me, which was nice. I like that.
Yeah,
so,
that's how my little guy is. Although he likes dudes in general. So.
Oh yeah, Dee Dee and I get along great.
Yeah.
He headbutts me every time I walk in the door. It's great.
Yeah, he's something. He's missing you, man. You'll have to come and visit soon.
Well, someday when visiting is ever on the table again.
Yeah, that's true.
Yikes. Anyway, so shout out to Charlie. The picture was taken that day, and I'm always happy to see him.
We dedicate this episode to good old Charlie.
To good old Charlie. All right, it is now time to talk about...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
All right, we are talking about November 19th, the year 2000. The number one song was Independent Woman, the Destiny's Child. This is a recent cover done with COVID protocols. Everyone's split screen. They sound great. The cover of the Burlington Free Press, of course, continued the saga of the 2000 election, which we're probably about to get into, just scarier. The cover said, legal arguments sharpened. OOPSY ballots boost Bush to 930 vote lead. So we were literally chipping away vote by vote in Florida. Weeks into it. The top movie was How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which took in $55 million.
You know, I don't think people appropriately appreciate whenever you see all these covers and stuff that are taking place with protocols or on TV, like people performing together or whatever. None of that is happening live. All of that has to be synced up by somebody because of the Zoom delay. So, like, it takes an incredible amount of work to do all those things.
Well, because you're not only syncing audio, you're also syncing video, which is sort of independent from the audio. That's an achievement. So, congratulations on that. Okay. Now, it is time for...
It's time for Sportsball.
The New York Football Giants dropped their second straight game to the Detroit Lions at Giant Stadium. Charlie Batch threw 3 touchdowns for Detroit, while Kerry Collins' 350 yards and 3 total touchdowns were not enough to get the win. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Football Eagles pulled ahead of the Giants with a 34-9 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Former Giant disaster Dave Brown came in relief of Jake Plummer and still sucked.
Nothing much has changed, Keith. I meant to bring it up 2 weeks ago. When was it we played each other?
Oh, yeah, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
And it was just disrespectful to football, how bad both of us are. Your quarterback had an 80-yard dash for the end zone and tripped on his own feet, in fact.
Well, I it's a conspiracy. I think Philadelphia painted 3 layers of paint on the 10-yard line intentionally to trip him.
Yep. That's definitely something we would do, actually, legitimately. So.
Oh, for sure. That is just like the most Philly thing you could ever do. The thing that's not Philly is that it worked and it didn't, and it tripped us and not them.
Yeah, it still was a 1-point game. Unbelievable.
I was so glad we were able to rescue ourselves from a victory because I want that first pick.
No, you're going to blow that too somehow.
We sure will.
Let's just jump right into the episode. Let's skip any of the other things that I have prepared. I definitely prepared them. Both segments. The weather segment,
God damn it. My life has value, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the damn episode. Okay, this episode entitled Brothers Keepers, Season 5, Episode 7, was written, and this is probably the most convoluted writing credit that we've had thus far on the practice. It has a teleplay by David E. Kelly and Alfonso H. Moreno, a story by Moreno, Peter Blake, and Adam Armas, Nora K. Foster. Peter Blake last wrote on Officers of the Court, and Adam Armas and Nora K. Foster are partners who wrote on Till Death Do Us Part. So we have 2 teleplay writers and 4 story writers.
Wait,
So-
can you explain that, Keith, as a writer? Like, why are there not teleplay credits on every episode?
Well, because written by is inclusive of the teleplay and the story.
Okay.
So you only need to differentiate when the story, i.e., like, hey, what if Bobby, blah, 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 and the actual dialogue written are done by different people. So this is quite the committee episode we have going on here. But it is directed by Arvin Brown, who last directed Summary Judgments, which leaves us with only one more thing to do before we watch the episode itself.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
Yeah.
What?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
It's a good question, Jimmy. It's a good question. You know, something in our fridge smelled nasty last night. I thought it was the milk. I thought it was the curdled milk. Then I sniffed it, and it smelled okay to me. So, spoiler alert, it was this bag of spinach Jen bought.
Oh, the spinach, man. The spinach will get you because we keep ordering spinach and forgetting to eat it, and it is bad news.
It's like
It
the
is
broccoli.
Bad news.
Yeah, there's a place called Produce Junction down the way, and it's so cheap. Jen was like, I bought a 5-pound bag of spinach. I was like, that's a problem because
That's
I
not
can give
good.
you 2 fistfuls of spinach in my smoothie, and that's probably it for the week. But
Right. Yeah, and when the spinach goes, it's not you throw it out. It's like you throw it out, you close the bag, you take the bag to wherever the bag
you
goes.
fumigate the fridge. You hope to God it goes away.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, that's where we're at. That's why I haven't been in the fridge in a while because it like turns to soup. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh.
Brothers Keeper. Well, Keith's slate and as well as the previously on remind me that Ernie Sabella was in the show at one point, playing
That's
a
right.
haphazard lawyer who was in the case where he asked us to see his client's dong.
Yes.
And we went into chambers with Judge Zoe and we saw the dong there. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we saw the dong in the courtroom also. Was it a double dong?
No, but they did bring the jury in to see the dong in the chambers.
Okay. So,
it was Kittleson who made us see the dong. in the
different
courtroom.
dong. Yeah.
Different
Sometimes
dong.
I confuse the dongs.
Ding dong indeed.
So, and I also in your slate, let's pull it up actually, since we're talking about it.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead, Brothers Keeper here. And I know this is the season of big swings, but
Hey, you better do a big swing.
so I'm going to start with, it's a Eugene and Ernie kind of case, but I'm going to say they are not in competition. I'm going to say that Ernie has gotten himself into some trouble.
Okay.
And since they went to such lengths to bring up the dong, I'm going to say that this is another dong, a ding dong repeat episode.
Whoa, a
Ernie
triple
is-
dong.
Ernie's gotten into some trouble with his dong. Perhaps he exposed himself somewhere. In fact, not perhaps. Ernie exposed himself somewhere for some reason
Mhm.
and has been arrested for indecent exposure and or something more nefarious. And Eugene draw the short straw. He got lowjacked and has to defend.
I don't think Eugene has a short straw.
Yeah. but he got Lujack, let's say. And he has to defend Ernie's Pumba dong from some sort of indecent exposure.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say. I don't know what your like falling star plus sign here is, but we're going to find out, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'll be curious to see if you figure out what that means.
Okay, well, so there's only one way. Was that a big enough swing? I think Ernie Sabella's dong is a pretty big swing.
It's a specific swing. I don't know if it's a big swing, but it is a specific swing.
I mean, for all we know, it could be like a short and stubby swing.
We don't know.
We might know.
Oh my God.
Oh shit. Well,
it angles down and finishes in a plus.
Oh, God damn it. So yeah, there's a QR code in the shape of Ernie Sabella's dong on the screen currently. If you'd like
It's a black and white square.
If you'd like to listen to us on the YouTube talk about the episode, we'll be there waiting for you. And we are back. And Keith, believe it or not, Keith,
Yes.
you got resized again.
I did. Oh, I'm little again. We shall see. Okay.
Hold on. I need my thinking glasses.
All right. Get those thinking glasses on because you have a lot of very important thinking to do in a segment we call
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show. Pumba's here, baby, and his friends aren't standing downwind. They are standing next to him on the council stand. Eugene comes in to help him out because his girthy niece may be shoplifted in Carta 95. In addition, Bobby defends this brother whose brother was an asshole and burned his wife to death, but there's no evidence tying him to the case, but it doesn't matter. He's found guilty, sent to prison. Judge Kittleson is like, fuck y'all, I believe in that bigotry, and it stands. Meanwhile, Ernie Sabella pulls some hijinks, but he wins anyway, and then him and Eugene have a little bit of a bro moment, and guess what? Ellenor is pissed because Jimmy's an asshole.
Okay, you ran over, sir.
I did.
You ran well over. And before we hop into the oopsies, I would like to explain to you what the
there's a penalty.
What the line in the, what's that?
Is there a penalty when I don't get it?
Oh, no, there should be a penalty. Oh, that's true. All right, guys, write to us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com and to determine a proper sentencing for when Mike goes over 30
and
seconds.
No honor killings. That's overboard.
Right, that would be something proportional to his failure. But my little Easter egg there.
Oh,
now
hold on. Let me venture a guess since
okay.
I haven't. One is the plus sign. Is that still the pregnancy test?
It is not the pregnancy test. It has to do with
Saudi Arabian flag. Okay, no.
It has to do with the credits of all of our guest stars, including Ernie Sabella, Clark Gregg, and Bernard White. Ernie Sabella being in Lion King, and of course, all of our Avengers stuff. Both properties owned by a certain company.
Oh, Disney. That's the star going over the
Disney Plus logo.
Hey, now, Keith, that's a good one.
See? I was proud
one.
of it. So I deleted the Disney part, but I put the swoosh there because Disney properties are what made all of our guest stars famous.
That's awesome. That was a good one. Well done.
All right. And now let's stop congratulating ourselves and start congratulating people with fake awards.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice
Silently.
podcast in unofficial,
Oh, no.
unsolicited, unfactual association with
hear
David
it?
E. Kelly Productions
Oh,
proudly
no.
present
This is the problem.
Oopsie.
the Oopsies, celebrating excellence in
I suspect it's
acting,
recording, though.
unfactual, lawyering good,
I suspect you're just doubling it up now.
good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff.
Sorry, listeners.
Here are your
Sorry.
hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Oh no.
No, wait, I hit it
I'm
again.
100% confident that was. Oh, you resized automatically. Skype is fucking with us.
Oh my God. So many things have happened, and I think we just have to address it. I'll go first, then it will be your turn. We fucked up all the oopsie bumpers. We had video and audio at different times, and then I got much bigger and smaller and two. Yes, and I think you have to do yours about going over in Mike has 30 seconds.
I went over because I forgot about Ellenor, which was also what happened to her with all her friends in the office. So now I'm the bigger asshole like Jimmy.
Okay, boy, we are not off to a great start.
So Keith, the question is this.
Yes.
Since I'm confident, as I rarely am, that the oopsie bumper music was playing just only for the audience and I didn't patch it through to you.
Oh, fun.
Do I now have to leave both of them going over each other in post when you send me the one you sent so that the cacophony is compensatory with the shit show that is this podcast?
Oh, yeah, no, we need to take our medicine.
You're right.
And we're gonna take it out on our audience by making them listen to that.
Oh, Christ.
All right, let's get this done, starting with...
Most valuable.
Well, Bobby lost.
He did.
I'm not giving it to Helen because that's some bullshit. It wasn't her case. It was the bigotry of the jury.
Right, which she exploited.
And guess what? I thought the theatrics by Ernie Sabella was the most effective thing, even though it pissed off Judge Zoe Hiller. So I'm giving mine full-heartedly to Ernie Sabella, whatever his character's name is.
Harlan Bassett. Yeah, no, for sure. Like his job as a lawyer is to advocate for his client. It doesn't matter if the judge hates him, doesn't matter if there are consequences for him. His job is to get his client off and get the W, which he did. So hell yeah, Harlan Bassett, you get an MVL. Coming up next.
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Jen kept bringing me tea because I'm coughing. I'm COVID coughing up in here.
Oh, great. Well, glad we're remote. So, best guest actor.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I flip-flopped a few times. I was going to give it to Agent Coulson. He was, I thought, pretty great
Clark
in his
Gregg.
few scenes. Yep. And then I was going to throw it over to Linda Hunt because she was given it as Judge Zoe Hiller, as often is the case. But I got to tell you, you ready for it?
All right, let's do it.
That last scene in Lockup, Keith, you and I are often swayed by an after
By a
scene
tag.
in Lockup specifically.
That's true. The lockup tag is always a good way to get an oopsie.
And I believe it got me again. That scene with Ernie Sabella brought me to it. I mean, we had to stop the show to talk about how great an actor he was. So I think if we have to do that, it warrants. We got 2 for 2. Ernie Sabella, as your fictional character and as your just good old great actor self, gets my oopsie.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to agree with you, but I want to give a shout out to Bernard White.
Yes.
Who I thought did a really excellent job on the stand, being unfortunately, the only voice arguing against the xenophobia and of this episode and advocating for himself in a very believable way. So I thought he did a very good job.
I hope that we get to see him again. Often in cases Bobby loses like this, it's not over.
gets another swing.
My fear is that this is more an issue episode for David E. Kelley, and he made his issues known, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, it probably, I can't tell you. So, yeah, but I do think it is Ernie Sabella's episode, and so he gets an oopsie, which is good because last time he was on, he got sort of swept off by Raymond Oz, even though I thought he was phenomenal in the episode. Okay, it is now time for...
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Shit. Listen, I don't know if you're going to be on the same page here, but I thought Steve Harris was really great, and Dylan McDermott also excellent. So good. Both of them.
Yeah.
But once again, I am just in awe of Cameron Manheim. I think she was able to play the sort of like sad, sorry stuff this episode, but yet still be defiant. And that's the writing, yes. I just think Ellenor is just such a great written character. But she was able in her few scenes to show every color in her palette. And she does it every effing time. And I know that maybe that it can get overlooked, but I don't overlook it. I just thought she was excellent again. And I thought Kelly Williams was great in her scene too. And Michael Badalucco riding that line of Jimmy as always. But I want to highlight with my oopsie Cameron.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that Dylan did an excellent job. And I think he's, fiery Dylan, Injustice Dylan is a really good color for him, and I thought he did a good job with that. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely Cameron. I mean, she brought a vulnerability and a strength at the same time, just exactly like you said. And I was going to say it in the tires section, but I really like how Ellenor, even from a place of vulnerability, both the character and the actress have all the strength necessary to defend herself. She didn't need someone coming in and advocating for her. She is perfectly capable of doing it for herself and doing it effectively and from a place of strength and integrity. So, yeah, no, definitely, Cameron Manheim, get your oopsie.
Keith, before you drop that point, I want to extend that congratulations a little further, actually. David E. Kelley and all the writers on the show, one thing they do pretty well, especially for a show that was written when it was written, they don't fall back on the damsel in distress very often. They don't have all of these male characters continuously coming to protect the women. I think that is to be commended only because of when it was written, obviously. That was a trope that was, hammered all the time in television. I think that this is great. They write strong women. The women in The Office are very, there are their moments, don't get me wrong. There are moments. It's
gotten better as time has gone on.
Yeah.
Season 2, it got a little rough, but it has definitely, an adjustment has been made. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. All right, so let's move forward and give out probably our most important award, obviously.
For sure. Yeah.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Let's not forget the sexy Tom Brady Award for Tom Brady last week, Creed Tom Brady, which was... They always elicit a laugh from me, but this one got a big LOL, so here it is. And when we get to this week, oh man, oh boy. You know what? I got it.
COVID denier Tom Brady?
Let's really test what Disney's up to.
Oh, no.
With
test their lawyers.
Yeah. So let's say Tom Brady as Timon next to Ernie Sabella's Pumba in The Lion King, Tom Brady.
Okay.
Timon Tom Brady.
Timon Tom Brady. Love it. Okay, great. I will look forward to the C&D from Disney. Because
maybe you have to find some fan art. Maybe you have to find some fan art.
They're the most litigious company out there. We're probably going to get something for the plus sign.
Oh,
All right. Well, that will be exciting. We only have one more thing to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
So, I stopped the episode 75% through to complain about how I thought it wasn't that interesting and they could have done something more with this issue. However, Keith he had watched it. So he was right in that it actually became about the xenophobia. And Bobby argues that at the end with Kittleson. And so that actually makes it much more interesting to me because that's what it's about. It's not so much about the lack of evidence, right, is the point. And that's something I hadn't pegged when I made my first objection. So it actually became very interesting. And I think Bobby's fight at the end kind of shows it's a great parallel to what our issues nationwide are right now, and that xenophobia is a effective, loud voice in our discourse and in our politics, and that's a problem. And I'm sure still in our courtroom, in our judicial system. I'm positive of. So that was really interesting. The complaints I had about the Ernie Sabella case being sort of, didn't we already have this with Richard Bay and he can't get a win? I gotta say, it pulled me through a little bit because it was executed flawlessly and by two really great actors. And all the courtroom shenanigans were great in that before, yes, Judge Zoe was upset with the theatrics of Harlan. Regardless, it's what got his niece off. It's what worked, and he gets that win. Now, his trajectory is probably a little more dour than what befell Richard Bay, but regardless, there was so much heart in it. I loved it, and all the stuff with Ellenor was really impactful too. So I've actually thought it really struck a chord with me, and I'm still pissed off about the ending in a good way. Like it did what it was supposed to do for me as a viewer. And so that's great. In fact, I was thinking earlier, I was like, this is sitting around a 7.5 for me, but it's jumped to an 8.5 spare tires for this guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's all fair. I agree with all of that. It's an interesting episode because it does a lot of damage to the likability of the characters on the show.
Yeah.
The storyline with Ellenor, like, it breaks my heart to watch her go through that and to watch not just Jimmy, but most of the firm put her through that. And I'm heartbroken by it, but I also think it's a valid and important story to tell because I imagine that's still happening a fair amount. That's part of the experience of single parents. And sadly, I mean, I'm hoping less today, but sadly, probably not. And I didn't like that. And, I think we do a lot of damage to Kittleson in this, just revealing herself to be just flat out straight.
Well, damage to Kittleson 2.0.
To Kittleson, well, to this version of Kittleson, it doesn't match with her character before. Her character was aggressively open-minded before, and to have this closed-minded version of Kittleson, I don't quite get it. I'm sad that we've sort of abandoned her as a character. She's now just a judge, whereas before she was a character. And so, I get why you did it, because she was literally outshining our main cast members. She got an Emmy as a cast member, not as a guest star. So the adjustment back, I get it, but why do you keep having Holland Taylor here if you're not going to use her?
Right.
Other than to sort of make a point about xenophobia by having a character that we've come to love express that. It's sounding like I'm not liking this episode, but I did. I found it compelling. I found it interesting. I just thought from a showrunner standpoint, like we dinged our cast up a little bit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just sort of clocked it. Because everyone doesn't need to be a hero and right all the time. I would just like there to be consequences when they're not. Which I think we got. I think I think Jimmy could have had more emotional consequences. Like Ellenor really hit back, and rightly so, but I don't think we saw it land on Jimmy as much as I would have liked to have seen him learn something, when I don't think he really did in that situation. All in all, I don't think I liked it as much as you did. I'm going to give it a 7.75. It was good.
Okay.
I liked it.
825-ish?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Well, folks, if you are practice fans, you know our next episode is Mr. Hinks Goes to Town. So if you're a practice fan, you know to be excited about next week. But Mike,
the episode is called Mr. Hinks Goes to Town?
Yes, the episode is called Mr. Hinks Goes to Town. So tune in. Here we go. All right, you have wasted away another 2 hours of your life with the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to talk to us about it, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can find our blog at outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. Mike's birthday is coming up. Send stuff for Mike's birthday to outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. The Out of Practice podcast is brought to you by generous donations from Leanne Wrights, Glad Lover 69, Jorge Navoa, and Jennifer Massanova.
If you would like to join them, Keith got big again, and I've started the timer. If you'd like to join them, you can do so.
We're going out in a blaze of glory. We're going out in a blaze of glory.
By putting a donation through one time or monthly. You can find those links in the show notes as possible. One day we'll have a Patreon, I promise. We just don't have anything extra to offer you. We'd like to thank everybody who listens. If you have a friend you might think thinks we're funny or hates our politics, have them listen to the show. I'm not going to make a fancy thing at the end here. I just want to say, take a moment to make a plan to vote today if you haven't already. If you already have, help out a friend who hasn't voted yet and get them to the polls. And if anybody tries to give you any bullshit at the polls, you just fire off some laser sounds.
Laser sounds. Vote, vote, vote.